Thank you, everybody, for coming today. My name is Mark Smith, and I work for IBM. I work across Australia and New Zealand, with most of my time spent on Australia-based business, but I live in New Zealand. So I've been working with the Microsoft Power Platform now for some 20 years. Now, some of you that are hearing me say that are going, well, hang on a second, it's only been around a bit over 5. The predecessor to what we have as the Power Platform right now used to be a Microsoft product called Dynamics CRM. And Microsoft, in their wisdom, saw that many people were building applications, enterprise applications on that technology, and they didn't need the Dynamics part. They just wanted the infrastructure piece, the automation layer. They wanted the data, the underlying data infrastructure layer, which we now call Dataverse. They wanted that available so they could build their own line of business applications. So, as I say, but over 5 years ago, Microsoft separated the Dynamics product away from the core underlying technology, which they named the Power Platform, which we work with now, to build any type of enterprise solution that a business really can conceive that they need to function effectively. First of all, I want to talk about this guy here, Summit Sunny. He's the guy on the left in the picture. This is a photo I took with him. This was pre-COVID in London. It was the Microsoft big opening of their first international store in the UK. And we were queued up to get in, right? There's a lot of fanfare, the media that was there and whatnot. I have no idea who the guy in the middle is with the word Microsoft. He was the photo bomber. It was Summit and I that was, as in, you know, why the photo was being taken. But why am I telling you about Summit? The reason I'm telling you about him is because I'm going to let him tell you his story and his experience on the Power Platform.
I don't just want to make a living. I want to make a difference. When I left school at 16, my dad was working in Heathrow at the time, and this opportunity came up as becoming a security officer. I thought, what a great opportunity, you know. My dad used to take me here to watch seaplanes and everything. So why not work for a company or an airport like Heathrow? I've been a security officer for 13 years. When I saw the amount of paper and time we were spending, I saw an app would be a great solution for these problems to be solved. About a year ago, I started learning about the Microsoft programs. I went home and I looked at a blog from Power Apps, and it said, this is how you can build an app. And I thought, why doesn't no one know this? Because this could have so much potential to change so many things. We have saved 11,000 sheets of paper and saved around 288 hours of manual input data. Going from paper to digital has been amazing. It doesn't matter what your skill levels are like, anybody can build this app.
Him with his community of super users have created 17 Power Apps that are already being used across our airport. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
My name is Sam Saini, and I'm a IT user adoption specialist at Heathrow. There's no limit what you can create with new technology. I'll create a new career.
Okay, so I spoke to Summit this week. I said I was doing what I'm doing now. And that video was shot back in 2019. So a lot has changed. He said there's many more apps, many more automations, of course, that they have built in that time. He's still at Heathrow, part of that team building solutions for the organization. So I hope that story inspired you. And why I wanted to let him tell his story is because establishing a center of enablement is about enabling people. Right? It's not, technology is a key part of it, absolutely. And we're going to talk about the Power Platform and why we're invested in the Power Platform as that, ecosystem of enablement for organizations. But the center of enablement is truly about empowering people inside the organization. And if we look at that through a few lenses, I first want to start with productivity. It allows people to become more productive. What do I mean? Many people in the organization spend hours of their day updating one data silo, software, something in your organization into another one. Control C, Control V is a common method of moving that data around. There might be some type of enrichment tool that you're using as part of it, but a lot of people are still manually copying data out of emails into systems, copying, unstructured data to structured data systems, etc. And there's a massive amount of productivity that is lost in that repetitive, mundane scenario. Then you have this area of collaboration. The amount of times we go into accounts and we see that there are not only there data silos in the organization, the business units in the organization are so siloed, they're not talking to each other. If you can imagine an elephant, right? It's each business unit has a different part of that elephant. They've got a good understanding of the leg or the tail or the trunk or the ears, but none of them have the whole picture because they're not collaborating. It's in silos. That's not part of, so they don't know what data is available. They don't know who's producing data over there that they could be using in their part of the organization. The other reason for a center of enablement was around innovation. It's around innovating at scale across the organization. Unfortunately, many companies still run on a model that innovation flows from the top of the organization down to the bottom. And I was watching a TikTok this week, and I really wish I had actually saved it, but it was a billionaire. He was a billionaire that was speaking on the TikTok that had multiple multi-million-dollar companies, of course, making him a billionaire. And he was saying, listen, if you really want to see what's going on in an organization, don't ask the board. Don't ask the executive. Don't ask management. He said, you go to frontline workers at the coalface and they will tell you on. He goes, if you want to innovate, those are the people that will be able to unlock the innovation scenarios for the organization. So he said, start with the people at the coalface. And that's where true innovation comes from. People that are in their job day in, day out. They know in their mind that this could be better. Notice that Summit said, there must be a better way. All this paper, surely there must be an app for app. And then he went and built an app, to meet those needs. There are people inside the organization that have brilliant ideas, but then don't sit in IT. They don't sit in the management or executive suite of the organization, and therefore that untapped potential is not enabled or let out in the organization. Another reason is AI enablement. Since November last year, we have been drowning in the messaging around AI. The thing is, a lot of companies don't know how to execute on an AI strategy to go forward. One thing for AI to work effectively in your organization comes down to the quality of your data, that your data systems are talking to each other, that there's an understanding of what your data is cataloged correctly. It's in a usable state for AI to actually do its best and help the organization move forward. The Power Platform and what we're talking about with the Center of Enablement is a key tool in preparing your organization for this AI enablement. There's AI tools built in. You don't need to be a data scientist to get started, and I'll touch on those in a minute. It enables your organization to scale. There's a new thing called software economics, and if you've been following some of the posts I've done on LinkedIn, one of them was around this concept of rather than building point solutions, choose an ecosystem and a platform, a true ecosystem. When we think of ecosystems, we think of something like Azure or AWS, right? You can do a lot of different things on those cloud ecosystems. And then you think of M365 or Office 365, which is all that Office productivity suite. The Power Platform is another of those ecosystems, in this case from Microsoft, that truly allows you to build any solution to empower your staff in the organization and then further out to your customers with true scale. So rather than point solutions, rather than buying a best of breed solution as it's sold to you off the shelf, you build a platform that allows you to build multiple thousands of solutions across your organization. And that drives the ROI, right? So when you license an individual and all of a sudden 500 apps can be used by that individual, 1,000 apps or more, it starts to change the economics of the organization. Take Schlumberger, for example, 70,000 people. What do they got? Over 20,000 apps now inside the organization, 70,000 people. It's a global company, of course. But they have over 50,000 Power Automate flows running now inside that organization, right? They've gone on this journey. Now, each time they add those, because the individuals are licensed, the organization's covered. So no matter how much that delta becomes, they're not getting an increase in their license each time. I'll caveat, of course, yes, some of you will say, yeah, what about storage and stuff? Logical. That is an exception. It's about employee empowerment. I don't know if you've realized, but the world is going more digital than ever before since this whole AI is becoming such a big deal, right? When we think of waves of trends that are happening, we had the cloud wave. Prior to that, it was probably the mobile wave, right? Where where Apple really redefined the world of phones with the iPhone. We went through the cloud wave. Now we're in the AI wave. And the thing is that the waves are the sets are coming in tighter together. We're in about a 4-year set. And the thing is, I heard the other day someone saying that if businesses did not get on and understand their AI strategy now, didn't empower their employees now, that for them to compete against their competitors in market who are AI enabled is going to create a big problem. The problem with this kind of thinking, however, is that people are running these systems and they need their education level, their skill level to increase, right? Their digital literacy must go from wherever it is to another level, even if they've been in jobs that have traditionally very manual labor focused. It's time for a change to really bring the digital temperature of an organization up, bring the digital literacy of the organization to a new level. Now, what that'll do is that as that tide rises, everybody in the organization is going to benefit from it. Particularly the company is going to benefit from the new innovative ideas that your people will show and bring to you. Now, table stakes is governance. Part of enablement is around putting a governance model in place that makes sure that your staff are not going to accidentally do things that are not going to be, there's something you don't want to see in the media, right? You don't want to be in the news for. Last year, we saw so many scenarios of ransomware attacks across Australia and New Zealand, a lot of data leakage, and a lot of this had to do with poor governance, right? They hadn't anticipated that Access database or that SQL database or that Excel spreadsheet that had critical system and client information in it would be able to be accessed off that shared network location and removed by the hackers. A lot of organizations still today run extensively, or a lot of their applications outside of the big core systems like SAP, PeopleSoft, ServiceNow, and the type. They're still using Access for critical business day-to-day use. They're still using Excel for critical business day-to-day use. And this puts the organization at unbelievable risk if they should get hacked at any time. Now, what's the link? So the Power Platform, right, is what we're talking about enabling. This digital tool set enables people, no matter where they start, to start producing solutions for your organizations. You can see it's the low-code AI platform that spans the Microsoft cloud ecosystems. It comes with these 5 core solution sets that enable you to build apps, analyze data, carry out automation at scale, chatbots, and then the portals part with Power Pages allows customers to interact with their data via a secure manner. They're all being designed for what we could say non-IT people to actually build and create on. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't matter. Now, Microsoft in the US particularly have a term called citizen developer. I like to call them business developers. Some people in the past might have called them shadow IT. These people are critical for your success in the organization. If you don't believe me, do a Google on McKinsey's white paper on low code. It'll show you the power of these roles in the organization. But if you take this, it doesn't matter if they start off as I want to produce and improve my productivity, so I'm going to create me an app that just works for me. Right. And then you go to the next layer of development, which is a maker, which is kind of like your Excel guru, right? They're the person that can make solutions. They've made a bunch already. They weren't employed to do that, right? You don't often see ads in the paper that says, we're looking for an Excel guru to come and write some macros for us, right? What you're going to see is that somebody in their job role that knows it really well goes, hey, I can do this in Excel. And that's what happens. So rather than Excel, we want to turn them into makers and build solutions on a cloud platform that is safe and secure. And then as we go along that continuum, we have IT pros, right? And they can engage and they can build models, etc., or provide partial solutions out to get the citizen and the makers up to speed much quicker. And then we go right through to the pro dev end of this enablement that allows software developers to build enterprise applications. Now, some people go, oh, this is just for like simple apps in an organization. In my career, I have built an app on this platform for the Australian federal government for border protection. It is rolled out and active for the last 5 years across all international airports in Australia. It intercepts millions and millions of items coming into the country and builds an evidence trail for the Australian Federal Police. It is a true enterprise application, and it is built on the Microsoft Power Platform. So it'd be wrong to think this is just for, I need to create a survey app, or I just need to create a simple app to capture a few requests or approvals in the company. Yes, it does all that easily, but it can truly build enterprise scale apps that integrate into your SAP systems. It can integrate into your PeopleSoft systems. It can integrate to any system. Why? Because you can see the data connectors there. Over 1,000 data connectors are available to existing applications. AI Builder enables you with a non-data scientist hat to actually jump in and start modeling against your data and building solutions. Power Effects, a formula type language similar to Excel, allows people to quickly build out very similar to that Excel experience type functionality in the apps. And then managed environments is the key. Well, I talked about table stakes with governance. Managed environments is this way of making sure that you don't have to have dedicated admin person on your just maintaining this all the time. You can get down to making sure that your environment is secure by default, that people building new solutions by default are doing it in a way that is protecting your organization, keeping it safe, keeping your data safe. Now, what are the benefits for adopting the Power Platform? First of all, I've already touched on this. It's innovation. It's unlocking the innovation across the organization. It's around rapid solution development rather than going out and say, listen, we need to involve an agency or an external partner or a provider to rapidly develop a solution. Why can't we prototype it up and get it running now and see if it's a fit and then, polish it through into production? It's around automation at scale. We're seeing more and more of our customers going to us and say, listen, one of our goals over the next 3 years is to 50% automation across the business, or some people call it hyperscale automation. Can we automate all the repetitive, mundane things out of the role, either with human in the loop, where we call co-pilot, right, assisting or making final decisions, but all the kind of mundane copy-paste data from that system and that system merged and output into the system, that all automated as part of the solution. Improved data analysis, right? Who, when watching a game of rugby, it's that sport that New Zealand used to win in all the time, is who when watching a game of rugby, right? Imagine if there was no ref during the game and only when the final, the full 80 minutes was up, that the final score was it. You had no corrective measure to know what's going on. When we talk about data and analytics these days, it's about getting real-time information in a way that I can change the performance of what we're doing inside the organization today, rather than the end of the month or the end of the quarter. It's that proactive insight is what we're looking to unlock, and you'll get that with the adoption of that Power Platform. It's seamless integration. I talked about those 1,000-odd connectors available right now to plug in a safe, secure, repeatable fashion, so that no privilege in the app that somebody creates could breach privilege in the system where the data resides. If I'm thinking out loud here, I'm thinking of SAP. If someone has access to the SAP system and they can only read from a field, the app they build will only be able to read from that field. If they can update it, they'll be able to update. So it honors those permission roles from those enterprise systems. I talked about cost savings, right, with the Power Platform. That software economics is such an important element of this story. It's around security compliance. I talked about table stakes here. I'm going to show you a bit of what you should have in place now if you're really going to scale a system of enablement to keep your people, your clients, and your organization's data safe. It's around flexibility, right? We don't know, you don't know what's going to hit your business in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months. Nobody knew coronavirus was coming when it came and the impact that it would have on business. We don't know what the next thing is, but is your business in a position that it has a platform in place, it has an ecosystem that says, come what may, we can adjust, we can pivot, we can create solutions rapidly to meet the organization requirements. One of the first projects I did in my career was for New Zealand Red Cross. So we took the New Zealand Red Cross system across 10 locations in New Zealand, migrated in all the data. It was about a $10 million business at the time for them. And it was around first aid training and had to report into the government through APIs and blah, blah, blah. What happened? We did that. All set up. And then the Christchurch earthquake happened, right? The Christchurch earthquake happened. And all of a sudden, New Zealand Red Cross had $100 million donated to them. $100 million donated to them to give back to the people that were most affected by the earthquake in Christchurch. They came to us and said, can you build a solution? In less than 5 days, we had built a grant management system on, as I say, the predecessor to the Power Platform, Dynamic CRM back then. We built it within 5 days and gave out that $100 million in 750 lot increments, or about $10,000 lots if someone had died in the family due to the earthquake. Did they know that was coming before they put the platform in place? Absolutely not. But they were flexible enough to build a solution in a week that was able to give out that amount of money back to the community when they most desperately needed it. Remember, it's about an AI on-ramp. You need to start having your people become AI literate now. The world's going to change dramatically. It seems like a different world in the last 5 or 6 months to me, and how AI is permeating so much of everything I do. And I feel that there's a lot of people that still are not, they don't understand it. They don't know what next step. Their digital literacy is not at a high enough level, but the Power Platform is a way to start. It's a way to practically get underway in a safe way, using the data inside your organization, not out in the public domain, to start driving value. And finally, it's one platform for all developer personas. Remember, I talked about citizen, maker, IT pros, and then pro coding developers, those in C#. This platform suits them all. Don't think that, it's a low-code platform, so we can't build enterprise apps, as I talked about before. It's absolutely an enterprise app platform, but at the lower end, where people's skills are lower, you're going to get apps that are maybe are less complex by nature. But when a developer, IT pros, makers are involved, they can build very sophisticated solutions to run an entire organization. So what's the objectives of the Center of Excellence? Before I show you some of the stuff that we're building in this space to really enable companies. One, it's around driving adoption and best practice, right? You want to make sure that when people are building apps in your organization, that by default usability is built in. When they're building solutions, that usability is built in. Is it designed that screen readers will work with it? Is it designed that the authentication method is consistent across the organization? Is the brand standards consistent across no matter who creates the app? I've been into some enterprise accounts, and I tell you what, it looks like the Wild West of app making. And the apps look disastrous in some points. In fact, I was talking with a large company in New Zealand. When I say large, think of the number of seats they have deployed is over 8,000 all-you-can-eat Power App licenses deployed. So it's a large deployment for New Zealand. It's not our biggest, which was in Australia, which was 44,000 seats, but it's a large one, right? And so in their case, they had recently built an app that was absolutely amazing. It did what they need. They showed the CIO, and he looked at it and said, mate, amazing what I can do, but I'm not rolling it out because it looks so ugly, right? A lot of people have not put the designers in as part of their app development skill. They've not learned that, apps, if they're going to be used, they kind of need to look cool, not just be functional. Gone are the days, and this is where fusion teams come into play, that only a developer should be designing the front end of your apps. There'll be danger there, right? There'll be what you won't get is adoption if that's the case. That's why I want to drive adoption and best practice by making sure that part is done right. It's around established governance, right? Table stakes, as I said. It's around support, training, and development. No matter where someone starts, first, before you're allowed to do anything in most organizations, we like to say, hey, we need to do a little assessment of where you are. And then we suggest that you do this training course, you do this, and then let's get you started, right? And it can just be simple training. I'm just talking about what is a Power App, what is Power Automate, what is Power Virtual Agents, just so they know what are all the bricks in the Lego box that we're working with and what they're kind of for, because it might stimulate ideas for them. And then finally here, it's around encouraging innovation and collaboration, really from the coalface, drawing out those ideas that already sit within your organization. I'll touch on why I believe this is so important in a moment. Now, I talked about governance. This is table stake. Managed environments. If you're not up to speed on this, and I know a bunch of you on the call are involved in building power-based solutions and on the Power platform, you need to get across managed environments, right? It's table stakes for this game. It deals with security, compliance, and governance around managing and monitoring. Now, a lot of organizations I see, they've implemented the center of excellence, and they're like, we're done. No, the center of excellence is a starter kit that Microsoft provides, right? It's not the end game. It's just turning the lights on. Now we've got to get down to business. I've been into so many orgs that nobody's updated. They're not on the latest version. Nobody really understands how it is. They put it in because they were thinking that putting in software was going to change behavior. No, a center of enablement changes behavior. That's what you need. The center of excellence is a few tools for IT to make sure the organization is staying safe. All these things, though, need to be in place for you to really establish a center of enablement. Then if we look at training and deployment, we think of landing zones. How do people discover that there is a Power App or a Power Platform community in your organizations? You need to be discoverable. They should, if they work in Microsoft Teams, they should be able to find you there. If you're in SharePoint, they should be able to find you there. If it's an internal intranet on something else, it should be findable. And I'm going to show you how we see that working at IBM. It's around skills development, taking anybody from where they are. Not everybody needs to do certifications. And I highly recommend in an organization, non-partner, certification shouldn't be the goal. It should be skill development, incremental gains on the skills being built practically and from a hands-on as well as streamlined with training to support that. It's around creating learning events in the organization that showcase who's doing the amazing things, because you never know that the idea that one department comes up with will spark the ideas in other departments. I'm currently working with a large bank, and the one idea that's working one department is being seen by HR, and they're like, wow, we want that. It's 90% what we need. We just need 10% change. Can we have an app that's 10% different than that one, right? You never know. These learning events is what sparks innovation as well as people see what other people are doing inside the organization. It's around a community of collaboration, encouraging cross-department. As I said, been in many companies, they don't know what one department's doing. They don't know what tools one department's using over another. And as we share and come together in a community around this ecosystem, it can empower people and you can get this cross-pollination happening. It's around showcasing success stories, mentoring those that need it, and then supporting those that also need it. And I'm talking about not the support like, oh, we need IT support this. No, it's, hey, I'm struggling with the flow I'm trying to build. Is there anyone else that's already done this that can help me? Right? So don't think of support as IT support. It's not when an app is in production. It's supporting each other, no matter where you are geographically in the organization, that you can tap into the support network that's there to build out your solution. And it's creating a community of practice, a community of people that want to get involved and raise their digital skills to the next level. And before I show you the details of this, I just want to look at innovation and experimentation. How does this happen? You need to foster a culture of innovation. You need to regularly run events that are innovation focused internally. Now, if you don't feel like you have the tools to do this, get in touch. We can help you. Support and proof of concept pilots. Build them quickly, get validation, get the ROI in place, make sure it was financially benefit to the organization, and then get it into production. Run innovation challenge events or hackathons. I was involved in running a major innovation challenge for a big mining company in WA. It actually spanned WA, Canada, and a few other countries. And so these people were, if you like, from a skill set perspective, were right down at the citizen developer end, right? They worked in the business. They knew they had problems. There was folks that were in labs that were collecting mineral samples, and it was all done on clipboards and whiteboards and stuff like that, right? They were at the coalface. 69 ideas came out of that innovation challenge. We ran it across about 2 to 4 hour session across multiple time zones, 69 ideas. They spent time in there building out what their pitch was back to their business of why their app should be built. They did a video presentation. And then we went through a judging process and we chose the winning application. That winning application is now in production. That organization told us it had a $27 million impact to their business by doing it. $27 million impact. Guess where it came from? It came from running an innovation challenge. Hackathons are more for people along the maker, IT, pro, dev area where they want to get hands-on with the tools. So let me show you what we have. First of all, we've created a product called PowerForge. Me and my team at IBM, we've created this way to deploy this across any of the landscape inside an organization with no license requirements. So if you've touched things like the COE starter kit, and by the way, this is not to replace the COE starter kit, it's complementary to it with a focus on enablement. It allows people to hit that get started button and say, hey, hand up, I want to get involved, I want to learn. When they come back, repeat return, you can see they have a dashboard of where things are at for them. They can jump back in whatever project they're working on. They can see recent news, showcase apps, and any of the wins that they've had. They can see their XP, right? Their experience level is how we gamify it a bit. And they can increase their experience level by publishing solutions, by having people use solutions, by answering the right answer to questions in their internal community forums. There's a lot of different ways that we've got triggers, etc., to add XP. And so we run a leaderboard as part of that across that community. When it comes to skill development, if you're jumping in, you're like, hey, I need to replace a paper-based form. The training is around those type of workloads. It's not about how, a lot of Microsoft training, if you had that experience, is about how to use the software. We want to help people solve business problems. So ours are about how do I automate something that I'm doing? How do I replace a paper-based form? How do I take an Excel spreadsheet that I need to know is in the cloud now? I can't have the data source sitting in Excel anymore. From a forums perspective, this is the community, right? You can ask your questions. This is where you get supported, right? From each other. They can be filtered by topics. People can get XP, experience level, by answering the right answer first over each other. So it creates a bit of competition within the organization, and a bit of stickiness and a bit of bragging rights as people support each other in that process. It takes them through, how do we start building solutions? What do they look like? What do these tool sets look like? They can click into each of these, they get a video explaining what it can do, and then they can get into launch a Power App or launch a Power Automate, etc., depending on which path, they want to go down. We see from the events perspective here, we got hackathons. We've got a full tool to run an international type hackathon event in this. The whole setup, lead up, T-minus the event happening, all the activities that happen, the team submission, who are the people in those teams, etc., right through to the judging process, everything all handled directly within this application. You can see on the left there, we have got things around lunch and learns, presentations, peer learning, etc., that keeps everything central to this app. So if you want to schedule a meeting with me, reach out. My details are here. You can either connect on LinkedIn if I haven't already connected with you, or send me an email, mark.smith@ibm.com. But notice here, what I'll do is that from that, we would look at doing a roadmap assessment. Where are you currently in your organization from an adoption level to where you would like to go? And we will go through and tailor that for you and give you a clear, what does the next 3, 6, 12 months look like for you, and the path that you can take to make sure you're enabling your organization, and by that I mean your people, to really digitally transform. Thanks, everybody.